Beloved soul, feel the quiet tremor moving through your spirit right now. This is no ordinary moment. Heaven has aligned your steps with a precision far beyond anything you could comprehend, and the whisper that led you here carries eternal weight. You have been pulled into a holy convergence, a meeting written long before time shaped your story, and the presence around you is not imagination, it is revelation beginning to rise. Chosen one, that stirring in your chest, that subtle pressure that refuses to let you settle, is not coincidence. It is divine purpose awakening. You have carried burdens that no one saw, questions you could barely voice, and a fatigue that felt older than your body. Yet even in that heaviness, God whispered your name in the unseen and said, "Enough is enough." The Holy Spirit has brought you to this sacred moment because heaven is issuing a decree over your life, a shift, a confrontation with the weight that has held you back, a release into a breakthrough. Season meant to restore what has been drained and awaken what has been dormant. Before you hear anything else, breathe. Let your shoulders fall. Let your heart open. Feel the nearness of the one who formed you, the one who sees your silent battles and calls you chosen even when you feel broken. Jeremiah 29:11 declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you." And those words are reaching for you now, like a lifeline woven from eternity. This is your moment of destiny alignment, where heaven begins to untangle the knots that have strangled your confidence and clouded your path. Beloved, God has watched every moment the enemy tried to suffocate your hope. He saw when betrayal tried to poison your faith. He counted the nights you lay awake, asking why the storm never seemed to end. And now, with the authority of heaven itself, he is saying, "Enough is enough." The warfare against your peace ends here. The cycle that drained your joy ends here. The confusion that stole your clarity ends here. You have stepped into a spiritual awakening that will not quietly pass. God is confronting the darkness that has stalked you, and he is declaring restoration over the fragments of your identity. You are not here to survive anymore. You are being raised into abundance, emotional healing, and a wealth mindset rooted not in fear, but in divine confidence. This is a turning point, a holy interruption, a divine appointment carrying the weight of Isaiah 43:19. "Behold, I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth." And beloved, stay with me, because what God is about to reveal will touch the deepest part of you. Before this first movement ends, I need to tell you something sacred. If at any moment your spirit whispers yes, let that agreement rise gently within you. It is the beginning of personal transformation. Chosen one, there has been a quiet battle around your life for longer than you realized. You have felt it in the way people shifted without explanation, in the tension that settled on your chest when you tried to rest, in the strange resistance that rose up whenever you attempted to step into something new. What you thought was ordinary frustration has been spiritual pressure, and heaven has watched every moment of it. You have walked through seasons where it felt like the ground beneath you was shaking, not enough to break you, but enough to exhaust you. And the Lord is saying now, with a voice that cuts through every shadow, enough is enough. He is not simply offering comfort, he is issuing a decree, a divine boundary, a line the enemy is no longer permitted to cross in your life. Beloved soul, there have been forces trying to convince you that you were losing direction, but what has truly been happening is destiny alignment. The shaking you felt was not destruction, it was recalibration. God has been tightening the path beneath your feet, narrowing your steps so you would walk in purpose instead of distraction. But because the process was painful, you mistook it for punishment. You wondered why breakthroughs slipped through your fingers, why emotional healing seemed distant, why abundance felt like a promise, always 1 inch away. Yet heaven never abandoned you. The Lord watched the pressure build around you, not to crush you, but to reveal the strength He placed inside you long before this battle began. There were moments when you questioned your worth, moments when you believed the lie that you were falling behind. You compared your journey to others and wondered why your opportunities seemed delayed. What you did not see was the spiritual warfare happening behind the scenes. The enemy targeted you because he recognized the magnitude of your breakthrough season long before you did. He saw the personal transformation that heaven had ordained for you, and he feared the authority you would walk in once you awakened to your divine purpose. So he tried to wear you down with setbacks, confusion, and emotional fatigue. But beloved, he did not win. If he had, you would not be here right now, listening to a message your spirit instantly recognized as truth. Hear this. Every season of isolation you endured was a divine classroom. God separated you from certain environments because what was surrounding you could not sustain what He was growing within you. You outgrew atmospheres before you consciously realized it. You began noticing conversations that drained you, habits that no longer fit, relationships that shifted without clear reason. These were not coincidences. These were the first indicators that heaven was elevating your life. When God prepares a chosen one for abundance, He removes anything that disrupts alignment. And although the pruning felt painful, it was the doorway to your next level. There were nights when you laid awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why your spirit felt restless, even when your life on the outside looked calm. That was not anxiety. That was spiritual awakening. Heaven was trying to get your attention. The Holy Spirit was whispering strategy into your heart, telling you to release certain fears, to pick up your confidence, to prepare your mind for a higher level of responsibility and blessing. You felt something shifting but could not explain it, because what was happening in you was not intellectual. It was spiritual. You were stepping into a wealth mindset shaped not by money, but by clarity, discipline, purpose, and divine identity. And, chosen one, you need to understand this. Nothing about your struggle has been random. The resistance you faced was a sign that you are carrying something heaven sent. You were born with an assignment, and the weight of that assignment has been pressing on your spirit lately, pushing you toward growth, even when you wanted rest. You have felt stretched, pulled, and tested. But these were signs that God is preparing you for elevation. You can no longer shrink yourself to fit places that were meant only for your past. That version of you has expired. Heaven is unlocking a new identity within you, one built on courage, discernment, and truth. Stay with me, beloved. The shift surrounding your life is not finished, and heaven is still speaking. Chosen one, the atmosphere around your life has been shifting in ways you couldn't articulate, and heaven has been watching every flicker of strength rise inside you. What looked like mundane frustration was actually spiritual refinement. You began noticing subtle patterns, the way certain conversations suddenly felt too shallow, the way environments you once tolerated began to feel suffocating, the way your intuition sharpened without warning. These weren't random impressions. They were signals that God was elevating your internal landscape so your external world could follow. You are stepping into a new realm of awareness, where nothing can remain hidden, and every truth that was once blurred is now coming into focus. There is a reason your spirit resisted going back to old habits that once brought comfort. Those habits were tied to an identity you've outgrown. God has been walking you into a deeper level of emotional healing, dismantling the lies that told you you had to settle for less than the fullness He designed for you. The places where you once sought validation began to feel empty because heaven was redirecting your hunger toward purpose, not approval. You started craving peace over noise, authenticity over performance, stability over chaos. That shift did not come from exhaustion. It came from revelation, gently unfolding inside you. Beloved soul, the pressure you've carried in silence has been a catalyst rather than a cage. You interpreted it as a sign you were losing ground, but in truth, God was compressing the soil beneath your feet to build a foundation strong enough for the elevation He has prepared. You were being trained to discern what aligns with your destiny and what quietly drains your spirit. And now, every false attachment that once disguised itself as comfort is losing its influence. Heaven is stripping away illusions because there is no room for deception in the life of someone called to walk with clarity and spiritual authority. You may have noticed lately that your sensitivity to the unseen has heightened. A single shift in energy feels louder. A single unspoken truth becomes obvious. This is not fragility. This is discernment being sharpened by God so that you can see what others overlook. You were not created to follow the crowd. You were created to perceive what they cannot sense. That is why confusion tried to cling to you, because the enemy feared the power of a mind aligned with divine insight. But now, God is cleansing your perception, purifying your motives, and expanding your capacity to hold spiritual wisdom without fear. Chosen one, listen closely. Your spirit has been preparing for abundance long before your circumstances catch up. This abundance is not limited to resources. It is the overflow of peace, strength, clarity, and spiritual maturity that you have fought to protect. You began waking up with a quiet resolve, even on days when your body felt tired. That resolve was heaven's confirmation that the weight on your shoulders was not meant to crush you, but to shape you into someone who can carry influence without losing identity. You are stepping into a realm where your presence will shift atmospheres, not because of what you say, but because of the authority resting upon your spirit. Beloved, the moments when you felt disconnected from the world were not signs of isolation. They were moments when heaven was drawing you into deeper intimacy. God sometimes shields His chosen ones from noise, so they can hear the instructions whispered in stillness. You have been receiving divine nudges, subtle impressions, and sudden inner knowing that defies logic. These are not coincidences. These are strategies. Heaven is preparing you for assignments that require spiritual precision, emotional intelligence, and unwavering confidence in your identity. The weight of this preparation explains why you couldn't go back to old cycles even when part of you missed their familiarity. Chosen one, there is a stirring deep within you that has begun to separate truth from illusion with a clarity you did not possess in your earlier seasons. You have started sensing intentions behind words, feeling the weight behind silence, and recognizing motives that once slipped past your awareness. This is not suspicion. This is spiritual maturity awakening. God has been sharpening your inner vision so you can navigate your next elevation without being entangled in connections that were never meant to grow with you. Your spirit is learning to distinguish between those who come to drain and those who come to edify, between those who celebrate your calling and those who fear it. This heightened discernment is proof that heaven is guiding you toward relationships and environments aligned with your divine path. And beloved soul, there is something else unfolding within you. You have been feeling a quiet but undeniable pull toward solitude, not the lonely kind, but the sacred kind, the kind that feels like your spirit stepping into a sanctuary built from stillness. In that stillness, you began hearing truths you had forgotten and recognizing strengths you once overlooked. The quiet moments that once scared you have become the very moments where God reveals His heart for you. You are not withdrawing, you are recalibrating. Your inner world is being refined so your outer world can follow. It is in this sacred solitude that God has been strengthening your resolve, reshaping your perspective, and preparing your mind to carry responsibility with grace rather than fear. Chosen one, the subtle shifts inside you are not random. You have begun noticing that certain opportunities no longer excite you the way they once did. Plans you once chased now feel too small. Dreams you outgrew rest gently in the background of your mind, replaced by a deeper yearning for purpose rather than performance. This is heaven redirecting your desires. When God is guiding a chosen one toward elevation, he begins by loosening the grip of anything that once defined them. You are being set free from the weight of expectations that were never meant to shape your identity. The hunger rising inside you now is not for applause, but for authenticity. Not for recognition, but for alignment. Not for temporary comfort, but for eternal impact. And beloved, something powerful is happening beneath the surface of your emotions. You have been feeling waves of introspection, moments where old memories resurfaced, not to haunt you, but to be healed. These memories carried residues of insecurity, humility forced by circumstances, and fear shaped by past wounds. But instead of overwhelming you, they began losing their power. This is the Holy Spirit, revisiting the places where pain once lived, so he can uproot what no longer belongs. Emotional healing is unfolding within you layer by layer, and your heart is becoming strong enough to hold joy without suspecting its expiration. Heaven is softening the hardened places and strengthening the tender ones, molding you into someone who leads with compassion yet stands firm in truth. Chosen one, you have also stepped into a subtle shift in your mindset. You no longer see obstacles as evidence of failure. You have begun to recognize them as gateways to deeper understanding. Challenges that once discouraged you now provoke curiosity. Delays that once frustrated you now feel purposeful. This is the birth of a wealth mindset, one that sees beyond limitations and perceives opportunity where others see lack. You are learning that prosperity in God's kingdom begins in perception, not possession. And because your perception has changed, heaven is preparing to entrust you with responsibilities and blessings that require the depth and steadiness now forming within you. Beloved soul, there has been a quiet strengthening in your spirit. You have noticed yourself reacting differently to situations that once unsettled you. Where you once rushed to defend yourself, now you choose peace. Where you once clung to control, now you choose surrender. Where you once doubted your worth, now you sense a growing confidence, anchored in truth rather than validation. This stability is not accidental. It is proof that you are maturing spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. God has been fortifying your inner fortress so that no storm, no criticism, no shifting circumstance can uproot your identity again. You are becoming unshakable, not through force, but through foundation. Chosen one, there is a deeper shift taking place inside you, one that has begun altering the rhythm of your inner world in ways you can no longer ignore. You have started noticing how your spirit reacts differently to pressure. What once triggered panic now awakens reflection. What once overwhelmed you now invites you to pause and listen. This is spiritual maturation unfolding quietly but powerfully. God has been teaching you to respond from wisdom rather than wound, from faith rather than fear, from clarity rather than confusion. You are no longer moved by every gust of emotion because your foundation is being anchored in something eternal, something unshakable, something heaven-crafted. And beloved soul, your sense of time has been changing as well. You are no longer rushing to reach milestones that once defined your worth. You are beginning to understand that divine timing cannot be accelerated by worry, nor delayed by doubt. You are learning to rest in rhythms that honor your spirit, rather than exhaust your strength. This shift is not passive, it is intentional. Heaven is teaching you the sacred art of patience, not as waiting without movement, but as trusting without forcing. The rush that once ruled you is dissolving because your spirit is aligning with a pace set by God, not by fear of falling behind. Chosen one, you may also have noticed a quiet transformation in your conversations. You no longer feel compelled to explain your heart to those unwilling to understand it. You no longer apologize for truths that were meant to liberate you. You no longer tolerate words that diminish your calling. This is your spirit reclaiming its authority. God is removing the weight of unnecessary explanations so your voice can rise with purity and purpose. You are learning that peace is not the absence of confrontation, but the presence of truth spoken without fear. And every time you choose authenticity over approval, heaven smiles because you are stepping into the person you were always meant to be. There is another layer unfolding within you, beloved. You have begun sensing when environments shift in vibration, when a room no longer aligns with your spirit, when an atmosphere dims your light rather than amplifies it. This sensitivity is not a burden, it is protection. Heaven is tuning your discernment so precisely that you can sense misalignment before it affects your peace. What feels like discomfort is actually direction. What feels like unease is actually revelation. God is teaching you to trust the signals He plants in your spirit before your eyes ever catch up. Chosen one, you have also been experiencing a new kind of courage. Not the loud and aggressive courage the world celebrates, but the gentle, steady courage that rises in your chest when you choose obedience over comfort. You have noticed yourself stepping into conversations you once avoided, making decisions you once postponed, embracing truths you once ignored. This courage is the mark of someone stepping into destiny. It is heaven strengthening your resolve for what lies ahead. The next assignments God will place in your hands require a steadiness that only comes from inner conviction, and that conviction is being birthed inside you now. And beloved soul, there is a reordering happening in your desires. You are beginning to crave deeper fulfillment rather than temporary satisfaction. You no longer settle for surface-level victories. Your spirit is hungry for meaning, for transformation, for divine purpose that resonates through every layer of your life. God is rewriting the desires of your heart so they align with the fullness of who He created you to be. Where you once sought escape, you now seek elevation. Where you once chased distraction, you now pursue clarity. Where you once feared stepping forward, you now feel compelled to rise. Chosen one, there is a quiet reconstruction taking place in the hidden chambers of your mind. Thoughts that once spiraled into doubt are now meeting resistance from a deeper truth rising within you. You have begun recognizing the subtle difference between the voice of fear and the whisper of divine wisdom. Where fear once sounded convincing, now it feels foreign. Where doubt once felt familiar, now it feels intrusive. This shift is not accidental. God has been renewing the architecture of your thinking, dismantling old patterns that kept you small, and building a mental framework strong enough to hold the fullness of your purpose. You are stepping into a clarity that cannot be shaken by whispers of insecurity, because your mind is being anchored in revelation rather than reaction. And beloved soul, you've noticed your dreams have taken on a different tone. They no longer echo old anxieties, but instead unveil new visions, symbols, and impressions that linger long after you wake. These dreams are not random. They are messages coded in the language of the Spirit, guiding you toward the path heaven has already traced for you. God often speaks in the quiet corners of the night because your heart is unguarded, your mind is quiet, and your spirit is receptive. The glimpses you've seen, the unfamiliar landscapes, the unexpected faces, the sudden clarity are not illusions. They are divine previews of chapters you have not yet stepped into. Your future is already calling your name, and your spirit recognizes the sound. Chosen one, another transformation has been unfolding within your relationships. You've become increasingly aware of people who drain your energy without giving anything in return. You've felt the heaviness after certain conversations, the discomfort around certain intentions, the exhaustion after certain interactions. What you once dismissed as mood or sensitivity, you now understand as spiritual misalignment. God is teaching you to honor the sacredness of your energy, to protect the purity of your spirit, and to guard the gateways of your heart with unshakable discernment. You are realizing that proximity is not the same as purpose, and not everyone who walks with you is meant to walk into your destiny. And beloved, you've also started noticing a shift in your capacity to forgive. Wounds that once felt sharp have softened, memories that once triggered pain now bring understanding, and people who once held power over your emotions no longer influence your peace. This softening is not weakness, it is emotional freedom. God has been lifting the residue of past hurt from your heart so you can step into destiny without carrying the weight of yesterday. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened, it is about reclaiming the space in your spirit that sorrow once occupied. Your healing is not a moment, it is a movement, and that movement is gaining momentum. Chosen one, there is also a rising hunger in your soul for deeper spiritual truth. Surface-level beliefs no longer satisfy you. You crave revelation that stretches you, wisdom that expands you, and truth that transforms you. This hunger is a sign that heaven is preparing you for greater assignments. You are being drawn into dimensions of understanding that require humility, curiosity, and surrender. God is unlocking doors of insight that only open for those who seek with sincerity. The questions you've been asking lately are not random. They are invitations. Every spiritual impulse, every yearning for clarity, every moment of sudden insight is heaven pulling you deeper into destiny alignment. And beloved soul, pay attention to this. Your resilience has been changing form. It is no longer about surviving storms through sheer willpower. It is about standing firm with an inner peace that refuses to be shaken. This new resilience is calm, steady, and grounded. It does not shout, it does not panic, it does not crumble, it simply remains. This is the resilience God gives to those who have been forged in the fire of adversity and refined in the quietness of surrender. You are learning to stand not because you are strong, but because you are supported by a strength greater than anything that rises against you. Chosen one, there is a new steadiness forming in the deepest part of you, a grounded strength that doesn't announce itself loudly, but reveals itself in the way you manage pressure with a calm you never used to have. You have started noticing how your reactions have shifted. Instead of absorbing chaos, you now observe it. Instead of internalizing negativity, you now recognize it as something that no longer belongs to you. This inner steadiness is not something you manufactured through discipline alone. It is something God has woven into your spirit through every season where you had no choice but to lean on His presence. What once shook you now barely moves you, not because the battle's diminished, but because your spiritual stature has increased. And, beloved soul, there is a quiet expansion happening in the way you perceive possibility. Pathways you once dismissed as unreachable are beginning to feel attainable. Ideas you once feared are beginning to ignite courage inside you. Desires you once suppressed, out of insecurity, are resurfacing with new clarity and conviction. This expansion is heaven's way of stretching your vision so you can step into opportunities that require faith rather than familiarity. You are being lifted out of limited thinking, out of environments that confined your potential, and out of the beliefs that convinced you to play small. God is enlarging the territory of your mind before He enlarges the territory of your life. Chosen one, another shift has been unfolding quietly within your spirit. Your tolerance for dishonesty, manipulation, and spiritual fog has dropped to zero. Where you once ignored red flags, now you perceive them before they even appear. This vigilance is not born from fear. It is born from revelation. Heaven is training you to recognize counterfeit opportunities before they entangle your purpose, to discern flattery from authenticity, and to identify intentions that do not align with your calling. Your spirit has become a finely tuned instrument, detecting shifts in atmosphere with precision. This is divine protection, working through awareness, guarding your destiny from subtle sabotage. And beloved, something sacred has awakened in the way you manage silence. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels instructive. It feels like a sanctuary where your thoughts settle, your emotions breathe, and your spirit listens. In silence, you have begun noticing patterns you once overlooked, receiving insights that were drowned out by noise, and rediscovering parts of yourself that the world taught you to hide. This new relationship with silence is a sign that heaven is preparing you to hear instructions reserved only for those who can sit still long enough to receive them. You are being trained to hear God not just in thunder, but also in whisper. Chosen one, there is also a distinct shift in the way you measure your worth. You no longer evaluate yourself by external validation or visible achievement. Instead, you have begun recognizing the quiet victories within you, the boundaries you learned to set, the emotional regulation you cultivated, the moments you chose peace over reaction, the resilience you built without recognition. These victories are shaping a new identity within you, an identity rooted in purpose, dignity, and divine intention. You are no longer living as a reflection of others' expectations. You are becoming the person God envisioned long before you faced your first battle. And beloved soul, take note of this. You have begun walking with a deeper awareness of your assignment. Even though you may not know every detail, you can feel destiny pulling at you. You sense that where you are now is too small for who you're becoming. You feel the call to step into places where your voice brings clarity, where your presence brings stability, where your journey becomes a testimony for others searching for light. This awareness is not imagination, it is preparation. God is cultivating a spiritual posture within you that can withstand influence, responsibility, and elevation without losing humility or alignment. Chosen one, there is a quiet awakening taking shape in how you interpret the challenges that rise before you. Situations that once felt like barriers now appear as invitations to step into new layers of wisdom. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" your spirit has begun asking, "What is this preparing me for?" This shift marks the beginning of spiritual elevation. You are no longer viewing hardships as punishments, but as tools shaping your discernment, strengthening your emotional endurance, and expanding your inner capacity. What once felt like opposition now feels like instruction, and this recalibration is a sign that heaven has been maturing your perception for the road ahead. And beloved soul, there is a refinement happening in the way you manage your emotional world. Waves of feeling that once consumed you now move through you, without anchoring themselves in your spirit. You have learned to witness your emotions without becoming ruled by them, to honor what you feel without letting it determine your direction. This emotional regulation is not merely personal growth, it is divine preparation. God is teaching you to carry influence without being crushed by expectation, to step into higher territory without being derailed by criticism, and to move with grace even when confronted with misunderstanding. The steadiness growing inside you is the fruit of battles that tried to break you but instead built you. Chosen one, pay attention to this transformation. You have begun valuing depth over distraction. Shallow pursuits no longer entice you. Meaningless conversations fall flat. Temporary pleasures lose their appeal. Your spirit is craving substance, truth that nourishes you, relationships that challenge you to grow, pursuits that align with heaven's intention for your life. This hunger for depth is evidence of spiritual awakening. When God prepares someone for destiny, He removes the taste for anything that dilutes their purpose. You are shedding layers you no longer need, stepping into a maturity you once thought you weren't ready for, and reclaiming authority over the kind of life you are willing to build. And, beloved, notice how your intuition has strengthened. You sense shifts before they happen. You discern intentions without needing explanations. You feel misalignment in your body before your mind fully understands it. This heightened intuition is a spiritual instrument being tuned by God Himself. He is teaching you to listen not only with your ears but with your spirit, to pick up on vibrations, to recognize patterns, to perceive movements in the unseen. This ability is not a coincidence. It is a gift, and it has been refined through seasons of disappointment, betrayal, and revelation. What once confused you now becomes clear the moment it enters your atmosphere. Chosen one, you've also stepped into a new relationship with responsibility. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by what is required of you, you are beginning to feel empowered. Tasks that once drained you now feel purposeful. Commitments that once intimidated you now feel like stepping stones. This shift is part of destiny alignment. God is preparing you to handle blessings that require structure, consistency, and spiritual grounding. You are being shaped into someone who can receive abundance without losing focus, someone who can carry influence without abandoning humility, someone who can steward divine opportunities with wisdom rather than fear. And, beloved soul, there is an undeniable transformation in the way you guard your peace. You protect your mental space like sacred territory. You no longer allow chaos to linger. You no longer welcome conversations that steal your clarity. You no longer open your spirit to energies that disrupt your purpose. This protection is not isolation. It is stewardship. Heaven is teaching you the value of a peaceful mind, because peace is the soil where revelation grows, where divine strategies unfold, where purpose becomes clear. You are learning to create an atmosphere within yourself that aligns with abundance, stability, and spiritual truth. Chosen one, there is a new power rising in the way you interpret your own identity, a strength reshaping how you see yourself when no one is watching. You have begun to release the false narratives that once convinced you to shrink, the old labels that tried to define you by your wounds rather than your wisdom. You no longer accept the version of yourself shaped by fear, by disappointment, or by the opinions of those who never understood your calling. God has been revealing a truer reflection, one carved from resilience, clarity, and divine intention. This newfound awareness is not vanity, it is revelation. You are finally seeing yourself through the lens of purpose, not pain, and that shift is transforming the atmosphere around you. And, beloved soul, your relationship with rest has also been changing. You are beginning to recognize rest not as weakness or laziness, but as alignment. You have learned to step back when your spirit feels overloaded, to breathe when your heart feels tight, and to pause when your intuition tells you something needs re-evaluation. This willingness to rest is a sign of spiritual maturity. Heaven is showing you that restoration is as holy as action, that clarity often comes in stillness, and that your worth is not measured by how much you endure, but by how intentionally you move. The kind of rest you are entering now is not about escape. It is about refueling your spirit for the elevation ahead. Chosen one, there is a renewed intensity in the way you protect your purpose. You have begun to guard your dreams with a seriousness they always deserved. You no longer reveal your vision to people who cannot understand it. You no longer seek validation from voices that never recognized your value. You have learned that destiny requires discretion and that not every audience is meant to witness your process. This discernment is God shielding your calling from unnecessary interference. Your dreams are being nurtured in a sacred space now, away from doubt, away from envy, away from distraction. Heaven is preparing them to manifest without being tampered with prematurely. And, beloved, observe the way your ambition has shifted. You are no longer chasing outcomes for the sake of achievement. You are pursuing alignment. You want what feeds your soul, not what feeds your ego. You want what elevates your purpose, not what entertains your insecurity. This realignment is heaven pruning your motives, so your elevation will not collapse under the weight of misdirection. You are becoming someone who moves with intention, clarity, and quiet authority. Someone who understands that the journey is shaped not only by what you achieve, but by who you become in the process. Chosen one, another transformation has been unfolding in the way you interpret spiritual tension. You no longer panic when you feel pressure. You pause. You no longer collapse under the weight of transition. You rise to meet it. You no longer mistake discomfort for disaster. You recognize it as evidence that God is stretching you into a greater capacity. This shift signals that you are entering a breakthrough season where your spirit is no longer intimidated by opposition. Heaven is expanding you, stretching your faith, widening your vision, and strengthening your spiritual endurance, so you can carry blessings that once would have overwhelmed you. And, beloved soul, there is a remarkable evolution happening in the way you carry silence in conversations. You have discovered the power of listening not just with your ears, but with your spirit. You can feel truth beneath words, sense sincerity beneath tone, and detect intentions beneath politeness. This depth of perception is not ordinary. It is the mark of someone whose discernment has been sharpened by heaven. God is equipping you to navigate environments that require sensitivity, wisdom, and spiritual insight. You are being positioned to see what others overlook, to hear what others ignore, and to understand what others misinterpret. Chosen one, there is a stirring in the way you interpret divine nudges that marks a profound shift in your spiritual sensitivity. You have begun to recognize the difference between impulse and instruction, between random thought and holy prompting. Where you once questioned whether the whisper in your spirit was your imagination, now you sense the weight of heaven behind it. The clarity rising in you is evidence that God has been fine-tuning your inner hearing, allowing you to detect direction even when your circumstances appear silent. The subtle guidance you feel throughout your day is not coincidence. It is the Holy Spirit orchestrating your steps with precision, preparing you for encounters, opportunities, and revelations that your natural mind could not anticipate. And, beloved soul, something extraordinary has been happening in the way you perceive endings. What once felt like loss now feels like transition. Doors that closed abruptly no longer trigger panic. Instead, they awaken curiosity. You no longer interpret goodbyes as rejection, but as divine release. This shift reveals how deeply heaven has been reshaping your emotional foundation. God has been teaching you that endings are not punishments, but preparations. that separation is often the soil where purpose grows, and that release is sometimes the greatest form of protection. Your heart is learning to surrender without breaking, to let go without losing peace, and to trust that what leaves your life was never meant to carry you into your next level. Chosen one, there is also a transformation unfolding in the way you respond to unfamiliar territory. Where uncertainty once filled you with hesitation, now you feel a strange sense of anticipation. You are beginning to lean into the unknown with quiet confidence, recognizing that new environments do not threaten your purpose, they reveal it. God is expanding your comfort zone, stretching your faith, and preparing you to walk through doors that your former self could not even imagine approaching. This expansion of courage is not born from pride, it is born from alignment. Your spirit knows that what lies ahead carries divine orchestration, and that every unfamiliar step is actually a pathway to growth, revelation, and elevation. And, beloved, observe the change in how you handle truth. You have started embracing truths that once frightened you. You confront patterns, acknowledge emotional realities, and face difficult revelations without collapsing beneath them. This courage to hold truth is a form of spiritual strength that heaven has cultivated within you. God is teaching you that truth is not a threat, but a key one that unlocks healing, discernment, and freedom. You no longer hide from what needs to be corrected. Instead, you lean into the refinement with humility. This willingness to grow is what sets you apart, and it is why heaven consistently places new insight in your spirit. Chosen one, there is a new purity rising in the intentions behind your actions. You no longer pursue goals to gain approval or prove your worth. You move from authenticity, from conviction, from a desire to honor what God is building within you. Your motives have been refined, cleansed of the need for comparison or competition. This purity is what heaven requires from those called to carry influence. God is shaping you into someone who can impact atmospheres without being corrupted by them, someone who can walk in abundance without losing integrity, someone who can lead without being consumed by pride. And beloved soul, take note of the shift in your spiritual endurance. You no longer collapse at the first sign of resistance. You stand, you breathe, you recalibrate, you choose trust over turmoil. This endurance was forged in seasons where you felt stretched beyond your limit, and yet you survived every one of them. God allowed the pressure not to destroy you but to fortify you, and now that fortification is becoming visible in every area of your life. You are moving through challenges with a steadiness that reveals you are no longer who you once were. Your resilience has matured into stability, and your stability has become a testimony of heaven's hand upon your journey. Chosen one, there is a deep shift occurring in the way you carry your inner authority, a quiet confidence emerging from places where insecurity once lived. You are no longer seeking permission to exist in your fullness. You no longer dim your presence to make others comfortable. You no longer silence your truth to maintain temporary peace. This emergence is not arrogance, it is alignment. God has been awakening the authority He placed within you long before pain tried to bury it. You are becoming someone who stands firm without explanation, someone who speaks truth without trembling, someone who steps into purpose without waiting to be chosen by people who were never meant to validate your calling. And beloved soul, something sacred has transformed in how you handle divine timing. You have begun to recognize the beauty in delays, understanding that they are not denials but calibrations. You no longer rush ahead of God out of fear of missing opportunity, because your spirit knows that what is meant for you cannot be taken, stolen, or withheld. The impatience that once dictated your steps has softened into trust. The anxiety that once clouded your decisions has settled into surrender. This shift marks the birth of spiritual maturity, where your heart beats in rhythm with heaven's pace and no longer bows to the pressure of human expectation. Chosen one, there is also a new strength forming in your boundaries. You no longer allow access to people who disrupt your peace. You no longer tolerate energy that drains your spirit. You no longer keep open doors that God has already closed. This firmness is not coldness. It is stewardship. Your peace is becoming sacred ground, and God is teaching you to guard it with a seriousness that reflects your destiny. You have begun to understand that not everyone deserves proximity, not everyone is ready for your evolution, and not everyone is assigned to walk into your next season. Letting go is no longer a wound, it is wisdom. And beloved, pay attention to the transformation unfolding in the way you face spiritual resistance. You are no longer intimidated by opposition. Instead, you interpret it as confirmation that something powerful is being built within you. You have learned that resistance is often the echo of destiny, that the enemy fights what he fears, and that the pressure surrounding your life is a sign of the impact you are stepping into. This understanding has turned your battles into fuel and your wounds into wisdom. You no longer collapse under attacks because your spirit recognizes the purpose behind them. The warfare that once overwhelmed you now strengthens you, shaping a spiritual resilience that cannot be shaken. Chosen one, something profound is happening in the way you dream. Your dreams are no longer reflections of unresolved pain. They are blueprints of future purpose. Images, symbols, and moments that once felt confusing now carry a clarity that lingers when you wake. These dreams are not random, they are divine revelations disguised in nighttime language. God is planting seeds of direction, glimpses of destiny, and hints of the elevation awaiting you. Your spirit is beginning to recognize these dreams not as illusions, but as invitations. Heaven is preparing your inner world before manifesting the next chapter in your outer world. And, beloved soul, there is a transformation unfolding in how you interpret silence from God. What once felt like distance now feels like refinement. You understand now that silence is not abandonment, it is preparation. In the quiet, God shapes your discernment, strengthens your faith, and clears away the noise that distracts your spirit. You are learning that God does some of his greatest work in moments where you feel least aware of his movement. The silence that once frightened you has become a place where your spirit grows, listens, and expands. This is the sign of someone stepping into deeper spiritual intimacy. Chosen one, there is a new awakening happening in the way you interpret inner resistance. A subtle but undeniable shift that reveals how attuned your spirit has become to the movements of heaven. You have begun noticing that whenever you attempt to entertain old habits, a quiet discomfort rises within you. Not loud, not alarming, but persistent enough to signal that those patterns no longer belong to who you are becoming. This resistance is not guilt, it is transformation. God is rewiring the pathways of your desires so your spirit no longer gravitates toward what once held you captive. You are being guided away from cycles that drained your purpose and drawn toward rhythms that nourish your identity. And beloved soul, there is a profound recalibration taking place in how you understand favor. You have stopped assuming favor always appears as ease. You are beginning to recognize that sometimes favor reveals itself as endurance, as resilience, as the capacity to remain anchored when everything around you demands surrender. You no longer confuse divine protection with denial, nor do you interpret closed doors as signs of abandonment. Instead, you feel a quiet assurance rising in your spirit that what God withholds is often preparation, and what he delays is often direction. This understanding is shaping you into someone who welcomes alignment over instant gratification, someone who understands the weight of responsibility carried by true elevation. Chosen one, another transformation is unfolding in the way you steward your thoughts. Where your mind once drifted into worry, now it leans into possibility. Where negativity once echoed loudly, now you respond with intentional redirection. You are learning that the battlefield is not external, it is internal. And God has been equipping you with the strength to govern your thoughts with discipline, awareness, and spiritual insight. This mental clarity is not temporary. It is the foundation on which your next season of stability will be built, a stability rooted in wisdom rather than wishful thinking, in perspective rather than pressure. And, beloved, something beautiful is emerging in how you connect with your own intuition. You no longer dismiss your inner knowing as coincidence. You no longer shrink from the signals your spirit sends. You have begun trusting the instincts that rise uninvited, yet unmistakably accurate. These impressions, these sudden realizations, these unspoken warnings, they are not random. They are the language of the Holy Spirit communicating through your inner awareness. God has been sharpening this spiritual radar so you can navigate opportunities and relationships with precision, protecting yourself from entanglements that once slipped past your discernment. Chosen one, observe the profound change in how you approach your personal growth. You are no longer waiting for inspiration to move. You are choosing discipline even when motivation fluctuates. You have begun honoring your routines, strengthening your habits, and creating structure around your spiritual and emotional health. This discipline is not born from pressure, it is born from revelation. You understand now that destiny requires intentionality, that elevation does not happen by accident, and that becoming who God designed you to be demands partnership with His process. Your daily choices are becoming seeds, and heaven is preparing the ground where they will bloom. And, beloved soul, there is a healing unfolding in the deepest layers of your heart. You have noticed that triggers that once sparked pain now awaken understanding. Memories that once stung now feel distant, softened by time and grace. You have stopped blaming yourself for past decisions because you see now that every chapter carried purpose, every misstep carried wisdom, and every heartbreak carried revelation. This healing is not about forgetting, it is about transforming. God has been stitching together the torn pieces of your identity, making you whole in ways you didn't realize you needed. You are emerging stronger, softer, wiser, and more aligned with the truth heaven has been speaking over you since the beginning. Chosen one, there is a subtle awakening unfolding in the way you hold your inner power, an expansion so natural yet so profound that even you have begun to sense its weight. You no longer approach life from a place of hesitation. You no longer second-guess the strength embedded in your spirit. Instead, you move with a quiet certainty that wasn't present in previous seasons. This isn't confidence borrowed from external validation. It is confidence birthed from divine revelation. God has been anchoring your identity so deeply in truth that no opinion, circumstance, or disappointment can uproot it. You are becoming someone who stands firm in rooms that once intimidated you. Someone who carries their calling with steadiness rather than fear. And, beloved soul, a new rhythm has begun shaping how you interpret your journey. You no longer feel compelled to rush healing or force progress. You've realized that growth happens in layers, that transformation unfolds quietly beneath the surface, long before it becomes visible. This understanding has softened the pressure you used to place on yourself. You have begun giving your spirit space to breathe, room to evolve, and permission to change without shame. This shift is a sign of emotional maturity shaped by divine timing. You are learning to honor your own becoming, to trust the pace heaven has chosen for you, and to release the unrealistic expectations that once kept you trapped in cycles of self-criticism. Chosen one. Another transformation is blooming in the way you interpret relational energy. You have become more aware of the subtle exchanges that happen in conversation, the warmth in sincerity, the coolness in pretense, the heaviness in manipulation, the hollowness in flattery. Your spirit now detects what your mind once overlooked. You sense when someone's presence uplifts your atmosphere and when it dims your light. This discernment is not emotional sensitivity, it is spiritual intelligence. God has been sharpening your awareness so you can protect your purpose from those who come not to support, but to siphon. You are learning to cherish the voices that speak life and to gently release the ones that echo confusion.